Okay, so yes, Black and Scottish, I made that in 2019. I was always interested in creating content when I was working for design companies. I was always the guy that was putting together user experience journeys, but at the same time, you know, you guys are designers, so you know, you design a wireframe, and then you hand it over to the art worker, and then they do all the fancy stuff. I was always the guy that wanted to do that bit of work and look at the content that they were creating. So I was always interested in more so the story than the journey. So I created a Black and Scottish 2019. I was very, very lucky to be given the opportunity. BBC are, yeah, we know what the BBC is like. So that was Black and Scottish, and then I was very lucky to be nominated. So Black and Scottish, the film was nominated, and I was also nominated as Best Director for Factual. Now, within the industry, as you know, there's not many black people within any industry, really. And being a black filmmaker, that was something that was very prominent for me. You know, as soon as I made that film, just black people started coming out of the woodwork, just saying to me, you know, I really want to get into this industry. How do I do that, right? So I am going to just show you two trailers. One trailer is for Black and Scottish, and the second is another documentary that I'm working on, which is Black and Northern Irish. Okay, also had a hand in Black and Welsh as well, and now we're going on to make Black and European, right? Now you're thinking, no one else is doing it. You know, no one else is doing it, so who else is going to do that? Someone like myself who has the opportunity to create content and start my own agency, Create Anything. Before that, Create Anything was a design agency, always, you know, always trying to push the boundaries and also show that there's, as what we call black excellence, right? So let me just go ahead quickly and show you the trailer.
I think when you see another black person, you're kind of like, oh my God, there's another one. Like, I must find them and I must be friends with them.
You'd open your mouth and they'd be like, oh my gosh, you're from Scotland.
We didn't even know there were black people in Scotland. I identify most with being Scottish, but I'm a black Scottish woman and I'm completely okay with that.
I remember definitely feeling like, oh my God, I think I might be the only black person in the world.
You had to prove you were Scottish, do you know what I mean? You were always challenged as to whether, you know, but you can't know, but where are you really from?
There are black and Scottish people, we exist.
My name's Yasmin Kyasimire. I'm 8 years old and I'm proud to be black and Scottish.
So that little girl at the end is my daughter, Yasmin Kyasimire. At the time, she was 9 years old. Now, one of the reasons I wanted to make this documentary is because when Yasmin was 5, going into primary 1, what happened, she said to me, Daddy, there's an event happening at school, but I don't think that you should come. Oh, why is that then, Yasmin? I don't want you to come because you are black. What do you mean? I'm just embarrassed. Maybe people won't like you because of the colour of your skin. And there was an innocence there. And one of the reasons she said that is because she was looking around her school in the area that she lived in and seeing that there was no other black people, and thought to herself that, you know, my dad is going to get a lot of abuse. So that was very hurtful for me to, you know, Yasmin's mum is Scottish-Irish, and she was shocked as well. You know, because imagine your little kid saying to you that they don't want you to come to school. It was really hurtful for me. So I said, enough is enough. I have to make something. I have to create something, because in Scotland there doesn't seem to be many black role models. One of those role models is Jean Johansson, who is a television presenter, A Place in the Sun, Celebrity MasterChef, etc. And Jean Johansson is also my cousin. So that seemed to be kind of the only one at the time. Now I wanted to, coming from a social media background, I wanted hashtag Black and Scottish to be a thing. Put that in, there was only one image, some random image. Now Black and Scottish is well known, very popular, it's done extremely well. And you know, when you get to the point where you're living in an area where, you know, you are the only one, and your daughter is looking around and not seeing anyone that looks like her, what do? You go ahead and make a documentary called Black and Scottish. So in doing so, because that did extremely well, I worked as a designer about 7 years ago for A.B. Brown in Belfast, of all places. How I got into the industry was, you know, I was just obsessed with things that were aesthetically pleasing. I was, you know, photography, you know, film and billboard campaigns, etc. So I then went to work for this company, A.B. Brown, and I worked for BT, for BBC, putting together brands and campaigns. One of the designs that we did was for the Northern Ireland Tourist Board, okay? So I was working on that. I led that campaign. It's a great campaign. So traveling from Glasgow to Belfast, I went back home to Glasgow for a little holiday, if you would call that a holiday, but anyway. And then back over to Northern Ireland. So I went over in the boat to Northern Ireland, and then, you know, all the white people, you go through security. They seen the black person, they're like, you come here, and sat me down. They said, where are you from? I said, I'm from Glasgow. As you can hear, I've got a very broad Glaswegian accent. That meant nothing to them. Probably thought I was faking it. So they said, sit down, we don't know who you are, why are you here, what is it that what are you doing here? So I'm coming over to work, right, okay. About an hour later, Home Office were involved. Home Office called, you know, looking at my passport. I didn't have my passport at the time, actually, driving license. So Home Office, who is this guy, Stewart Kyasimire? And whilst all of this was happening, I said to one of the guys, look up. I said to him, look all around you. And what was it? The Northern Ireland Tourist Board campaign that I worked on, which was to bring people to Northern Ireland, welcoming Northern Irish people, yet the designer on it was sitting there with the Home Office on the other line. Anyway, it didn't faze me. I then went over to Northern Ireland and started working on Black and Northern Irish. So I put together a trailer for Black and Northern Irish, meeting some prominent people from Belfast. And it made me even more want to create this piece because, you know, think of the racism that I received. I'm quite a strong person mentally, so it didn't actually faze me. But anyway, let me show you this trailer that I would have normally pitched to the BBC through the BBC pitch, but I decided this time through having that social media and online background, let's leave BBC pitch and let's take it out there to the audience. And then, fortunate enough, about 3 million views later, St. Patrick's Day event, massive event during the pandemic. We had all of your famous Belfast actors, the Prime Minister, etc., through the NI Bureau. And what happened was it was streamed into the White House, and Biden at the time was watching it. It was very, very good. So anyway, here is the trailer.
This is a monumental day in Northern Ireland. It's a whole new world out there. And a new society has been born. I can see myself surrounded by people like me. We are more than just a minority. We are here to share our stories, so you can find out what it means to be Black and Northern Irish. Living in our home on the Atlantic shores is the greatest reward of all. We are proud to call Northern Ireland our home. We are playing our part. We are here, contributing to to the country we call home. We are here, and we are proud to be Black and Northern Irish.
Thank you. So, let me quickly just tell you a little bit about how I got into the arts. When I was 11 years old, 1991, living in Glasgow with my amazing mother, strong Black woman, she, as Africans know, and Africans know very well, when you come over here, it's all about, they want you to be a doctor or a lawyer. Even if you're not interested in medicine whatsoever, it's like you're going to be a doctor. And so why law? No reason, it just sounds good and it's good money. And that's what it was about. So she asked me, what do you want to be when you grow up? I said I wanted to be an artist. She said to me in a strong African accent, tell me a Black artist, tell me famous or successful Black artists out there. And I remember just drawing a blank at 11. This is a time when I couldn't go online and do a search. So I decided, okay, I'm not going to be an artist. Now, look, just when I started to think about this, I thought, she said to me, tell me one Black person that's successful in the arts. That told me that she needed to see someone that looked like us, that looked like me first. Because if they were there, she would then be able to go, right, okay, there's Addy, there's TJ, for example. She didn't say that it's a terrible job or it's a terrible role, and she didn't say she didn't understand it, but she needed to see someone like us. Now, representation is key, as you know, and when I was growing up in the industry, I was always the only one, the only Black in the village, as I would say, you know, amongst friends, in school, always, and you know, not mixed race, Black, right? I'm 6'4", I'm very, you know, you can't miss me. All right, so I was fortunate enough as a designer to work for Lloyds Bank, be the lead designer for Lloyds Banking Group, putting together journeys. Also, Clydesdale Bank, designed for BT, BBC, Nike, Puma, etc., etc. Actually, one of my old bosses is in the building. Stewart, give it up for Stewart. Stewart just went straight to the point. I love your work, you hired. Just hired me. In Costa Coffee's like, yeah, can start the next 2 weeks. Love that, Stewart, thanks. But anyway, so you imagine you're this white company, and then in walks this Black designer, and you know, so the person who hired me like, okay, Stewart, come and meet your team, the team that you're going to lead, you know, meeting them all. It's all good. Come to find out that some people weren't too happy with having a Black person lead the team. But the thing is in this industry, what I found was they have ways of doing it, showing you that they're not happy. You know, maybe not delivering in time, or maybe they're just little things or little comments. Like, you know, you definitely love rap music. You know, I do love rap music, but I was speaking to Addy about that earlier. Don't make assumptions. But it was a terrible experience to walk into, not at Clydesdale, sure, don't worry. It was a terrible experience to work in companies and know that members of your team did not want a Black person to lead them. It doesn't matter how successful I am, it doesn't matter what I achieved. It made me feel like, thinking about my mum's conversation that we had when I was younger, I was going, right, okay, clearly I seem to be that Black person. You know, it seems to be myself. How did I get to become the lead designer? By being brave, being tenacious, saying, not giving up and not shying away. Black people within this industry, what I found, have a lack of confidence, because you walk into a room and you just see all of these white faces, it's not the best. It's not the best experience. Somewhere I read that in London, for example, a London bus, you know, and that bus is so diverse. You've got different colours, but yet you go into these offices, and in the heads of departments, there would be no one that looked represented. Why is that? I'm going to ask. Just going to pick on someone and ask why they think that is. Because you're right there, I'm going to ask you, what do you think potentially be one of the reasons why there's a lack of diversity within our industry?
I think we have a legacy of historically not having promoted black people into those positions, and so now younger people coming into the industry don't see those role models, they're just not there.
That's exactly right, exactly right. So being the only one at school, being the only one amongst friends, and then walking into the design industry, and again being the only one coming up in the industry, you know, slowly becoming junior, senior, etc. And then still no one else looking like me. So what I would do is I would speak to my bosses and I would say to them, you know, I think we should start thinking about diversity. You know, there's black people that I know. Yes, no problem, sit down. This is, you know, we need to take action. That's so true. A week, 2 week passes, 3 week passes, nothing ever transpired. Why is that? For your reason there. So as a director, you know, I've interviewed over the last 2 years, I've interviewed probably about 50 to 60 black people to listen to their stories so I can cut it up and put it in a documentary and share it. So the one piece of advice that I would give from my perspective as a director and filmmaker is to listen and empathize, just like you were listening to me today. We could try all of these actions and action plans, and it's a load of shit, it's bullshit. I've seen it all before. You know, we need to do this, and you have a campaign, and you know, you have events. Honestly, it's a load of shit. It really, really is. And for me as a director, all I do is just have myself and a researcher will go out there and find the talent. Why is it that I'm able to find the talent like that, and you know, other people in the industry cannot? But it's up for me to sit down, do my research, find out about your life, and sit and interview you for 1 hour, maybe 2 hours, to make a documentary that can get BAFTA nominated. You know, I have to sit down and listen to their story and put myself in their position, because, you know, that's the only way I'm going to get them to share the story. So for me to be able to do that, I have to share my story as well with them. So it's not an interview, it's a discussion. But what you find is black people as well, black people can speak without speaking. We get it. You know, we understand and we know we don't need to share our story amongst us, yet they'll ask us to black community to come and share their stories as a group. Any bosses, managers, people who hire in here, in this room just now? Hands right up, please. Yes. Okay. Bit of advice. When you see a surname like Kyasimire or a surname like Sidisa or Adi, what I've found from working with the Scottish Government is people are applying for roles, and when they say a name like Kwesi Edu, nothing happens. Kwesi Edu then changes his name to John Smith. Hi John, when can you start? Hi John, when can you come in for an interview? You know? Secondly, as I say, you have to as bosses, you know, managers, you have to have a director's mind. You have to have the director's mindset. You have to become that person and say to yourself, right, okay, you know, I'm a very busy individual, but it's time for me to start listening to people. Because being a user experience designer, what's one of the first things we do? We do our research and we listen to our users. We're looking for what are our users' needs. And we figure out what a user's needs are. We go and create a journey, and we go and provide whatever it is that they're looking for. Why can't we do the same for diversity? I bet every single one of you in here has had a diversity chat, especially post Black Lives Matter, George Floyd. I guarantee, you know, from action over the last 2 years, I've had these conversations, and it's very rare actions have been, anything has happened. No disrespect, but there's a lot of white people that do like to say that, we should be doing this and should be doing that, sure, but nothing happens. They like to hear themselves speak. There was one company, I'm not going to name any names, but they offered me a creative director role whilst being a designer, working for some of the biggest banks. Asked them, so how many people of colour do you have in your team? No, but we're trying to get better. How long has your company been running for? The last 25 years. So how the hell is that possible then? Why are you trying to get better now? What's changed? Anyway, as a director, this is how I got some of my best stories, by not asking direct questions, but listening and giving people the space to talk. This is how you develop trust and understanding, and how you get people to open up and find out what they are really thinking. So, how can we make a difference? Let me tell you what I did within the television and film industry. As you know, there's a lack of diversity within our industry as well. Absolutely. It's not even colour, it's just even in women, right? And disabilities. Mm-hmm. It's terrible. I thought that it would be a little bit better going from the design industry into film and television, but it seems that I was wrong. In front of the camera, you guys will know plenty of people of colour, you know plenty, but behind the camera, again, it was only myself. I'm making Black and Scottish, and what? I was the only one more time. The rest of the production company was white. This was with another production company, and then I went ahead and started Create Anything, and Create Anything is predominantly black. We just released something for the BBC called Am I Scottish? It's well received, and our sound guy was white, the rest were black. And I'm not too sure. I may think that that's a production in Scotland, that one of the first.
Is that with Donald?
That's with Donald, yeah.
On my programme next week, actually.
Yeah.
It's brilliant.
Great guy. So, because I found that there was an issue within this industry, what did I go and do? I started a talent pool. Reframes an inclusive film and television talent pool. And you know what? I just said front and centre, I'm just going to put Mavis right there. Blackface right in front of you. Now, I was looking for talent for my production company, and I found it very difficult as well, right? So I'm very fortunate just now to be working on an Amazon Prime video drama called Anansi Boys, written by Neil Gaiman. I am the director for the behind the scenes and also the what we call electronic press kit, right? It's a £65 million budget, and it's a 95% black cast, and then maybe 20% black crew. I'm very lucky to be given that opportunity, to the point where they've now said to me, we love what you're doing, we would like you to also create a documentary for Amazon. So what did I do? A call out through an Amazon logo on, saying I was looking for people of colour, people with disabilities, etc. Within 2 days, 550 CVs. 550 CVs, people from up and down the country applied. People telling me, thank you so much. And what I made sure that I did was put my face in front and centre to say, look, it is me that's looking for that talent. It's me, I am going to get you that position. I had to shut it off after 2 days because it just kept coming and coming and coming and coming. I've spoken to the industry, I've spoken to the networks, and the production companies are wow, blown away, what the hell, my God. How did you manage to get that so quickly? Because I'm black, because it's me, because I'm the person that they can see someone like me that's looking for talent, so they're more prone to go, I want to work with you. the conversations that they have with me are totally different to any conversation they'd have with a white MD. Because instantly, as I said, black people can speak without speaking. I already know what their issues are because I've experienced it. So we don't need to have that conversation. We don't need to have that diversity chat every month or every year. We don't need to do that. It's just creating jobs. Very fortunate enough, Steve Carson from the BBC wants to back Reframe, Banerjee Productions, who basically own all the bloody production companies around the world. Channel 4, Scottish Government, all of them, and various production companies are all signing up to Reframe, and they've all jumped on it. So I'm going, I brought out the documentary in 2019. It wasn't long ago. Television and film has been around for many, many, many years. Why is it now that all of these companies are jumping on this? It baffles me and it pisses me off. How is that possible? How is it possible that I'm able to put a call out and there's, within 2 days, 500 women, people with disability? How is it possible? So now some of these people are working at Amazon, and between them, over the next 6 months, they're between, I think, about 8 to 10 people. They're making 300K between them, young trainees, within that space of time. They're all going to go on and work on a Netflix. A lot of them are going to go and work on a Netflix production as well. I've had, we were talking about Donald. Donald started with me about 2.5 years ago. He's now produced his content with me. He's now working with my cousin Jean Johansson, and they're just about to bring out a piece for BBC Disclosure. He's worked with me at Amazon. He's worked with me. And I basically brought him up, and now he's doing what he's doing. I've had people working for various production companies. Now, Reframe is a subscription service, because I was thinking I'll be the Mr. Nice guy, and what I'll do is I will just come and ask me, and there you go, there's a database. So it started off as a database. Then I realized, no, why should I do that? It's been taking me so long to do this. I'm going to charge you. You know, a job post averaging around £200. Channel 4 asked me, we're doing a thing called Black to Front, where it was a full day of black content. So your big breakfast and your, think of it, love it or list it, whatever, it was just black people. So they came and asked me and said, sure, we'd like for you to promote to your database. It's £500, okay. For a tweet, okay. For a tweet, for a share, okay, that's fine, I'll take it. And then from there, I've started to build Reframe as a company that's inclusive. I had it as diverse, but I'm not too keen on the word diversity. It's all about inclusion. But at the same time, I don't really like that word as well, because it's like, oh, can you include me, please? Is then, you know, can you throw me a bone? Can you give me a chance? I don't want a fucking chance. I just want to create content. I don't want to be in a position where you're making me feel like you're throwing me a bone. It's disheartening. It's pathetic. It's downgrading, right? So all of you guys in here have got a responsibility. A responsibility to pause when you see that surname that is not a British surname, or if you know that these people are a people of colour, I want you to stop, because they're lacking confidence. They're lacking confidence. They need to know that they have people who are ambassadors, or people who are looking to channel and, you know, create a more colourful palette. You know, you have a white blank canvas and you add some colour onto it. It's beautiful, but intertwined into that is white, is black, is... What are the excuses? Why is there always an excuse? Women have had to fight for many, many years to get to where they are now. You know, maybe we should rip a page from their book and how they managed to get to where they are. Now, let's face it, we're in Scotland. So Scotland is something like 1 to 3% black people. A lot of them are going to want to be doctors and lawyers. A lot of them are going to want to get into sports, get into medicine. But there's a few that also want to get into film, and there's a few that want to get into design. Is there a talent pool for the design industry? Why don't you guys work together? Because I've left the design industry, right? I still love it. I enjoy putting together some designs. That's some of my work, thanks. But anyway, you guys can come together and you can really make a difference and really make a change. There's literally no excuse for it. The talent is there. How do you find them? I'm not saying get a black person and get them to, champion your campaign. But why fucking not? Why not? Because how else? I'm thinking to myself, how else are we going to do it? Because if I'm looking for talent, I know that I have to be the front and center, because that person that my mum was looking for, I have now become that person within television and film anyway. And what's fascinating is that I'm from Glasgow, and I'm being contacted by production companies all up and down the country, and down in London, and I'm thinking, God, there was hardly any black fucking directors in the UK, let alone Scotland. It's fascinating. But how can you guys work together to make DIBI Conference 2023 have more people of colour? How is that possible? Why don't you just get together and put together your own talent pool? Because you're not saying that these people are going to come in and have a job straight away. But what I do with Reframe is say, right, okay, you're looking for talent, right? Okay, you're looking for a floor runner, you're looking for a sound guy, whatever it is, and I'll say, okay, you've asked for 5 people, but I want you to take on another 2 and get them to shadow who are an HOD or whatever position it may be. Shadowing is one of the main things that we do in film and television, and it works. We know that it works. Why don't you get someone to shadow you? Why don't you get people of colour, or I don't like a diverse group of people, and why don't you bring them along to the DIBI conference with you? Why don't you guys come to some big companies in here, spend a little bit of money and bring them along? Because from what you said earlier on, it's like they can't see anyone that looks like them. So what about the next generation? Going back to my documentary, Black and Scottish, it was for my daughter so that she can have role models. And now every single one of them, you could do a search for them, and they're all doing amazing things. Everyone that was on that documentary. My daughter actually told me this yesterday and said they were doing something on inclusion and diversity, and one of the boys in the class came up and mentioned 3 people, and one of them was me, and he said, so he thought I was a famous Black Scot. Now I was quite flattered, but at the same time I thought, do you know what? I've done it. I've done what I set out to achieve, provide role models, and now she's proud. I've got 3 other kids, and now she's so proud. She's wearing her hair out. She's doing talks at school. Black and Scottish is now in the Scottish school curriculum, so every single kid in Scotland is going to watch that documentary, which is something that I'm extremely proud of. This talk is about listening, right? So if you listen more than you talk, nobody learned anything by hearing themselves speak. Don't listen with intent of answering, but with intent of understanding. That's all you need to do. See all these campaigns that you come up with and action plans and all of this crap. That's crap. It really is terrible. All you need to do is just get people into a room and just speak to them, have a conversation. If you have that conversation with you, they will tell you things like, when I walk into a room, it's intimidating. They will tell you, like, there's no one else that looks like me. They will tell you that, yeah, okay, that campaign that you're working on is great, but why don't you try it from this perspective? They'll teach you how to target a group of people that you never that you never knew were interested in that. You know, like we're looking at black farmers, for God's sake. I never thought I'd be speaking about that, but bloody farmers, you know, black people out in the country, you know, I've spoken to many people who I didn't know there was a black farmer. I didn't know there was a black this, I didn't know there was a black that, I didn't know there was a black blah, 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 in whatever industry. But I know that there is, because it's my people. I know they're there. All you need to do is just sit down and listen to these individuals. Now, how do you find these people? Get yourselves to the universities, get yourself into the forums, speak to other black people. Now, there's 3 black people in here, but we all know there's Facebook groups of designers, am I right? There's Facebook groups for people in television and film. Get into those groups, go and speak to them, and say to them, look, this may come across like, you know, I'm throwing you a bone, but I want to understand, I want to listen. It's very important that you take on what I'm saying, because I've been successful from listening to black people speak, listening to people from all different backgrounds speak, and it's very emotional. It does take a lot out of you, especially listening to the black people from Northern Ireland, and they have issues with their troubles. You know, people are coming up to them, are you Catholic, are you Protestant? And they're like, I'm fucking black. I don't need Catholic and bloody Protestant on top of that as well. You know, but some of the stories that I've been hearing are just heartbreaking. Many tears from creating Black and Scottish, many tears from working on Black and Northern Irish. So you need to be prepared to listen to stories that are going to break your heart. But see, once you hear these stories, what's going to then happen is you're naturally going to be empathetic, and you're going to have an understanding of what it's like for these black people. If there's any insecurities that you guys have now, as human beings, we're all insecure. I'm too fat, or I'm too thin, or I've not got this, I've not got that. Imagine, take that insecurity that each of you have, right? And now imagine that you're the only person with that insecurity and everyone else is perfect. And now imagine having this insecurity and going and walking into a room or walking into anywhere. Just imagine what it's like. You'll always be thinking to yourself, I look like this, they don't like me because, or they're not talking to me because of blah, 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 blah. When you're black and you leave the home, when I was younger, and home it was like an African culture. But as soon as I left the house, I was very aware that I was black. Imagine living a life where you're always reminded that you are black. Imagine always having that in the back of your head, and a lot of the decisions that you make will be based on that. That is what it is like for black people. You speak to many, and it's subconscious. It may not be in the forefront, but it's subconscious. So if you sit and listen to people who want to get into the design industry, which I know there is, because I can tell you that if I was to put together a design talent pool, I'll probably get another 500 CVs. So how is it that I'm able to do it and you're not? And ask yourself, are you already doing it? And if not, then why? Why? I always say one of the reasons why is because you've got mortgages to pay, you've got kids to look after, you've got holidays to go on, you're very busy, you know, it's not 9 to 5, it's fucking 9 till bloody midnight. That's one of the reasons. So I'm asking you to take the time out of your busy schedule and listen. Thank you all for listening to me.